Thank you for
It's been
joining
a
me.
crazy Sunday, man, but I didn't want to miss this. So thanks
No,
for your
you're
patience.
good. No, I totally get it. Yeah, I totally get the family thing and the parties. Hope the party was good.
Yeah, it was a Barbie birthday party for
Nice.
one of my old friends I've known since like third grade, and his
Oh, got
daughter
you for an
just
adult.
yeah.
Oh,
It
never
was
mind.
no, it was a girl birthday party, but I took
Gotcha.
my daughter and she had a great time. She didn't want to leave, so it was kind of tricky to to get her to leave. They had petting zoo, face painting,
Oh,
balloon making. I mean, the whole nine. So it was like a
were there
girls'
red
trip.
rhinos there to pet?
No red.
No
Hey,
red
that would
rhinos?
have been awesome for adult party favor bags. I gotta tell my buddy, give him some ideas for next year.
Hey man, thank you for being here nonetheless. I totally
Sure,
get
man.
the family
Pleasure.
thing, and that's super important. So I'm happy that you're finally able to come through on the channel. And we'll talk more about what you've got going on over on Toy Addict Productions later. But I'm super happy for you to be here. Ready to talk some toys?
Thanks, man. It's a pleasure.
And just pretty much, this is the first thing other than the I kind of just give a quick update for the enablers and toying around fundraiser, but we're talking toys. This is the first one we've seen. Are you at all? Was this at all on your radar?
Dude, I believe these are, if I'm not mistaken, the same company that's making the Minotaurs, correct? For
Yes. Yep.
the Zex Ray. Yeah. So this one was an LA Comic Con exclusive, but apparently it's available now
Yep.
online.
Yep. Yep.
He looks really cool. I definitely was considering him for sure. I want one of those Minotaurs. I think I'm gonna go with a black one instead of the more bison looking one, but I like the color deco. Like I would have liked to have seen the bison one with the
Yep.
same horns as the black Minotaur. But I saw Toy Bros review of them and they are massive, dude. They're like
They are.
10.5 inches tall, stuff like that. So they're definitely gonna
Yeah,
look
I think
great next to Mythic Legions.
100%. I think they're roughly comparable to your Mythic Legion's Ogre scale, and I wanted to see them really quickly, but I am currently maybe stupidly in for 2 of them pre-ordered on here. But yeah, it was like choosing between your kids. You're like, man, I love that head sculpt. I love that head sculpt. I love the color. And I don't
Yeah.
know about you. I've got a couple of Ogre scale Legions figures and now Cosmic Legions. And, I say this often, but it's like, at first it was like, oh, cool variety on my shelf, different sizes. And then all of a
This
sudden
one.
I've got Diseblis. And then all of a sudden I've got a bunch of them. And now I'm like, now it looks like I just collect like a 10-inch line of figures and a 6.5-inch line of figures because there's so many of them. But I'm a sucker. I'm in for both. They look great. And I stepped away from the rhinos. But yeah, they're essentially the same buck. But yeah, if you're into a rhino and you want to check those out, go for it, folks. But let's go ahead and move on to what was next. Was this? Let's talk World of Warcraft. Is that something that you are into or were ever into at all?
So I've never been into the game per se, but I've always had fond respect for awesome looking characters and designs. I did see the live action film, which I thought
Uh-huh.
was really entertaining and cool. And I went in there naked, not knowing anything because I hadn't played the games before or nothing.
I was
But I
like, you
used
walked into the theater naked? Nice.
well, I had no background or no prior
Yeah, yeah,
knowledge
yeah. Yeah,
of the
yeah, yeah.
characters. But I did own quite a few of the DC Direct
Mm-hmm.
World of Warcraft. They were more like statues because they were static, but they were
Yep, yep.
super detailed and nice. So seeing this kind of stuff with articulation is
Yep.
kind of mind blowing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And this was just teased a couple days ago on 5K Toys. That's kind of how they do. They're just sort of like, hey, here's more stuff. And they've been going hard. They being, I say 5K Toys, but like the different brands that create things that end up being sold on 5K Toys, whether
Yes.
that's like Mithril Action or what is it, Star Toys or Memory. toys, who we'll talk about in a little bit, or Hero Toys as well. They just keep doing like these, hey, check out this figure that is in no way by any means having anything to do with World of Warcraft, but kind of maybe looks like some World of Warcraft stuff. And I'll confess, and I'll make it real clear, I never actually played World of Warcraft. I was a Warcraft person, ready to serve. Totally was into that. But by the time WoW came out, I just was, one, I knew to stay away, and I actually didn't have a system or a PC that was like able to do that.
Right.
So Thanos hipped me to that this is a human character named Varian Wrynn. And so this is definitely, how should I say this? This definitely is reminiscent of a World of Warcraft character that named Varian Wrynn, but is by no means an official figure of that line.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, just like if you've been following, so this is, oh, you know what? I actually don't even know. It doesn't actually say which of their brands that they carry is creating this. So I don't know. But if you know anything about like the stuff that they have been putting out through, that they have been selling through those brands, they're always like, the sculpts are amazing, right? The deco's amazing. The articulation's always like pretty good to amazing, depending on the brand.
Right.
And I'm looking at this thing. It's like the use of soft goods here and on the pants and here on the, what do you call this? Loin cloth, I guess. Loin tapestry. We've got it here on the, so it's like, oh, this is pretty cool. I don't know, again, which brand this might be, but this looks like a promising figure. And even though like, I'm not really into World of Warcraft, just the subject matter is kind of my thing.
No, absolutely. I mean, visually, it looks amazing. I'm just curious to see, with all that amazing detail and soft goods and sculpt, I wonder how well it moves. That's probably like the most important thing for me is the range of movement.
Yeah, totally. I'm not sure. I don't know that I'd say it's the most important thing to me. I'll confess that a lot of it has to do with the way it looks. That said, the articulation, especially on certain types of characters, like I need to be able to put them in certain poses for it to visually feel right. So I hear you on that. Like if it were like, like a real nimble martial artist or kind of thing.
Right.
But this, I mean, at least in this pose, who knows? I mean, it's going to have a lot of the standard things that we've come to expect. You've seen like the rockers here, but we'll see. And I'm kind of with you on that. Like, I don't know who exactly did this, which toy line. So Thanos is like, I was instantly sold. And yeah, I know. Every time I see something, a World of Warcraft related, I send it to him, and he's already seen it. But yeah, it's cool. And unfortunately, it's not StarCraft yet, but fingers crossed, we might get there. Thanos points out, it looks like the fur on the joints may lend itself to decent articulation, possibly, right? Sort of like hiding some of those things, and we'll see.
Yeah, makes sense.
But either way, still exciting, and kind of like on that tip, and FYI, my computer has been, so yeah, like I think this was the same day or maybe the next day, here comes Memory Toys, who is famous for giving us those bears, right? The bears that are going to be reused for Monster Force. I got myself one of the brown bears and the panda variant. I love the detail on them, and those figures are probably, they're edging up there on some of my favorites for the year. So when I hear that they're doing orcs, my ears perk up. And when I see the sculpt on this, just like, that's the thing I was talking with Thanos about. It's like, man, the World of Warcraft thing is clearly like, has become a thing, right? There are these third parties who are like way into figures that look like they might be from World of Warcraft. But again, there's multiple brands. So when I see that Memory Toys are doing their own, I'm like, oh, that's great. I'm looking at the articulation, and the detail on the face. Really cool. And it looks like Memory Toys in terms of like, it's got that, looks like the hard plastic, maybe, I don't know, hard to say conclusively.
Memory Toys, is that the same company that produced the Krampus brothers?
The Krampus brothers.
Yeah, they're like these demon
Oh,
Santa
oh,
Claus.
you know what? I don't remember, but I'm not sure. Maybe
Because
the
I
thing that's
pre-ordered those, and I could have sworn it was Memory Toys.
it could be it just the only thing that I remember from them was the bears, but you might be right because I do remember that more like freaky looking Krampus, right, with
Mhm.
exaggerated head. Yeah,
And like a
could be
huge
them.
gaping open mouth, and
Yeah, and
you could
Thanos
switch
is
the part.
asking. Yeah, and Thanos is asking, so are Memory and Hero the same brand? We don't know for sure. They have like on the Memory Toys Instagram, they have shared Hero toys or vice versa. And I've heard people say that kind of like nonchalantly. They're all the same brand. I tend to like not sort of blankly say that because I feel like that could be potentially problematic if they're not. But so it's hard to say. I think there's a possibility that they are doing that when it comes to these sort of gray area. I say gray area, truly like unlicensed, illegal handling of IP that they don't have licenses for, right? So sometimes they'll do that and kind of create other brands and labels in case one gets shut down. And this is a unlicensed IP, so maybe don't know. But on that tip, Star saying, doesn't McFarlane have the license for Warcraft figs again? I read where they're sticking with their typical approach of statues with one or two posable joints, and that is 100% true. They and so I was actually just speaking with Thanos. I was like, man, I'm waiting for McFarlane to kind of like, are they going to go after these guys or not? But yeah, the ones that they're doing are a little bit more statue like. They have this sort of gimmick where you can get different sort of loot accessories and weapons and stuff. But Thanos is chiming in saying, yeah, their license is for non-articulated, which maybe that's why they don't want to, or they don't. It's not directly competing against these folks. However, they are doing licensed versions of collectibles, and then these folks aren't. So, and
Curious.
FYI, I don't know if you remember that gorilla that Rick Jones is pointing out. There was like
That's
an
the one that
orange
was like an
jumpsuit.
inmate, like a prison
Yeah,
inmate. Yeah.
that's also Memory Toys.
Okay.
So,
Because I thought they make this too, the blanks. I got this one that's like a not Kratos, kind of like anime looking.
okay.
So this is from a company called Take That or Crazy Figure, but I think it's the same people that did that gorilla in the jumpsuit.
Again, who knows? Again, who knows how these folks are doing their thing? Because there have been instances where clearly like, oh, it's the same company, different brand, etc. But at the end of the day, depending on how you can stomach the sort of gray area, I feel like I'm winning in terms of all the options. And I was just sort of excited by this video. This is, again, one of those things just sort of coming soon. So
Yeah, it
I
looks
don't know.
sick, man.
All right. Where are we at? Let's talk about some of these fresh monkey fiction stuff that's coming out. So Fresh Monkey Fiction, who kind of has a special deal with Big Bad Toy Store, right, as sort of an exclusive vendor.
Mhm.
People are saying, yeah, they work closely with them. They own part stake in the company. Who knows? Because I don't. But they've been doing these Naughty or Nice figures, and the way they've been releasing them was sort of as this crowd fund, right? It's not like on a Kickstarter or whatever. They have their own platform. But not too long ago, they tried to get folks to pre-order these pumpkins. I don't know if you remember seeing those, like Pumpkinhead, and those didn't go through. So it's definitely a Kickstarter, or a crowdfund thing where if they don't make their MOQ on pre-orders, then it's not worth it for them to make, which totally get. That said, if I may use my platform to say, hey, folks, you need to get some deer. First off, here's my pitch. So it's designed by Arlen Pelletier, if you can see here, who who's done a lot of toys that we love. I talk a lot about AWOC, and Arlen had a hand in sculpting those, taking those from the designs that Utama did and turning them into beautiful 3D designs. He worked on Serpentor was another figure, and a couple of other, like a bunch of other classified figs. And so when I hear that he's working on these, and you see the quality of these, the sculpts, I'm like, yeah. So there's a goat. So like for folks who like want to fill out their sort of holiday display, you've got, and it's not just these sort of like undead deer. I'll show you that in a second, folks. But there is this goat. So you could do like a Santa, or you can do a Krampus kind of deal.
Yeah.
But you can see they have 4 different ones, color variants. And then there's a head pack where that's matched with these bodies, where you could effectively make Dasher, Donner, Prancer, Vixen, Blitzen, and Blur, right? Sleepy, Happy, Grumpy, Dopey, Sneezy, Bashful, Doc, or whatever their names are.
They even got Rudolph too.
Actually, they have a red-nosed reindeer that may or may not be called Rudolph.
They use the word.
Yeah. Consider this Randolph, the ruby-nosed reindeer. But yeah, if you take a look at these, you can make all the deer. And it has been alluded to. Adam said this earlier today, and I'd heard this elsewhere, that presumably if they do well, of course, like, could a sleigh be far behind? And come on now, fresh monkey knows what's up. That if enough people get these, they know there's going to be almost like a guaranteed sell for like a sleigh, right? Yeah, so if I can sweeten the pot with that idea, and you can get like the saddle, I will say they split the saddles up from the thing, and it is an additional cost. But and to maybe take a look at this, here's my other pitch. So if you go to the Big Bad Toy Store, any of the product pages for these guys, you can flip through and you can see the size comparison image. So these Santas are 6.5 inch. So if you're like me, or I know you, Jorge, we do legions. And my first thought was like, oh crap, I need goblins on a goat and dwarves on deer, is my thinking. So then inevitably you're like, well, will they even work size-wise? Because these figures tend to be a little bit smaller than legions. So thank you, Dork Lair, and all his reviews. He's so damn good about giving us size comparisons. And so here is that Fresh Monkey fiction next to some Mythic Legions with his custom there. And then next to, appropriately, Figure Obscura, Father Christmas, and Krampus. So put that in your head and then look back at this. Done deal, folks.
Yeah.
This will totally work with legions. Again, I think a dwarf would look amazing on this, and a deer would look amazing on that Krampus. So what are your thoughts as I kind of show this actual order page?
I really like some of these variants. I like the storybook version of Santa. I like the there was one that they showed that was like Father Winter or something like that, and he brings an alternate head, which is like kind of reminds me of like the I want to say it was the
You're talking about the Winter's Coming, this one? The Winter's Here?
Yeah, that one.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like that, almost kind of like Ring Wraith, Winter, King.
I think it's like a Game of Thrones type thing.
Yeah,
the Winter's Coming, Winter's Here thing, right?
Yeah, that's a really cool. So it's like a twofer in a way. You can have him as a human or as an unhuman.
Yep.
And then this guy, he looks like kind of like a Jack Frost.
Again, like that has your alt heads.
Yeah.
These are cool. They're 5 POA, which is cool, especially for the size. But know what you're getting.
I really like that one. Reminds me of Hellboy. That
totally
Krampus.
Yeah.
Just because the red is very pronounced. Accessory pack is great. Do you own any of the Santas? I know Carlos has the original Santa, and he says it's great.
I saw that on your guys' stream, and I saw him talking about it. And so, yeah, I haven't heard anything but great stuff about them. And here's the deal: like, these are all good to go. So if you pre-order them, this right now is not a like, I'm a little bit confused, but I'm pretty sure that all of these are good to go. I don't think that they're counting this in the sort of like the, oh, we need a certain MOQ thing.
It's more about the reindeer, right?
Exactly, because these are all like, they have the tooling mostly for this, and they're doing hats and heads.
Right.
I love this wizard. That head and hat alone, what you could do with that, right? But then it's down here where you get to the actual pre-order, right? So we're here.
We're halfway. Okay.
We need to be here, folks, in about 36 days. So tell your friends they need deer. Tell your mom and your grandma who are looking for that perfect, holiday.
What's the price point on the deer?
So let's see. It's like 60. Oh no, what am I saying? It's 45. 60 if you're getting the saddle. So it's 45. 45 for them, and then the saddle, which is down here, and it's also on that other page. I'll show you over here. So this is basically the campaign, if you will, page where you'll see the updates.
Okay.
So we need to get here for Brick and all the other nerds to be able to do deer, dwarves on deer, and goblins on goats. And so the goats are exactly the same body, just the different head. So if you're wondering about those size comparisons that I was showing earlier, imagine the deer, imagine the goat, imagine a goblin.
Pretty massive goat, huh?
And here's the saddle that I was referring to. So they split those. Oops, where was that? They split those out separately. It's like $20 for just the saddle, which folks were. I've seen some folks who are like, "Oh man, how are you going to separate them?" All take is, if you're not looking for a saddle, that's awesome. Like, that's a $20 that you don't have to spend, especially if your goal is not to have someone ride an individual reindeer, but you want to get them all eventually for a sleigh, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think that was actually a smart move and a thoughtful move.
Yeah, that was really smart. I think one thing they missed was they could have done an all-in for people that want this, like a sleigh pack, and have all the deer,
smart,
all the alt heads in a bump,
You're right. That would have been cool, and give you like a little bit of a deal, and like really get you in there. Yeah, that'd be rad. So we've got folks. Rick's gonna order a goat and a reindeer. Yeah, man, they are big, but there's some big reindeer. They gotta pull a sleigh. What's going on, Fanigan? Thank you for joining us. Here's Thanos going to get the head pack to have heads to mount on walls. Yeah, absolutely. Right. You could totally do that with like little wooden plaques and stuff.
That would be cool. Like, if you think about, I could think about like a toy photography concept where you'll have like Krampus in his lair, and he's like collecting reindeer head, you know, because he's trying to stop Santa from spreading gifts around in Christmas time.
You could do Black Phillip. You could do a joust scene between Krampus and Santa on their steeds. Hell yeah. Acid hippie wizard Santa's absolutely wild. Yeah. And ultimately, here's the real deal. Nolan's pointing out. Yeah, it's definitely $350 for 8 deer. Totally. This is the hazard that we are in, folks. Yeah, as I'm staring down a big chunk for a January 14th order with Mythic Legions, right? Yeah. But I know this is stuff that, like, I've often kind of thought of, just talk to folks about, like, this is an expensive habit, 100%. And especially when you're getting like I wasn't factoring in like deer. That wasn't on my radar. And then these became available, and it's like all of a sudden here I am shilling for deer so that I can get some deer. So yeah, it is just what it is.
You know what's funny about this is that they're being really smart because this doesn't just grab toy collectors, it grabs Christmas enthusiasts in
Yep.
general. So
Yep.
if you're just like one of these Christmas heads and you
Yep.
want to have the ultimate Santa Claus and sleigh and deer
Yep.
for your display, you know, you're instantly a customer.
Yep.
So you don't have to be a toy person, you know. So that's really smart of them, honestly.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that's what I was thinking too with Figure Obscura, right? Like I think shortly after that first Father Christmas came out, one of the first things they went to was like a Christmas fair, like
Mhm.
near them. Perfect, right? It's like, can you imagine all the folks who don't necessarily already buy action figures, who are just excited that you have this like cool looking display that they could work in? We're
Absolutely.
often talking about like, what's the future of the action figure buying? And I think it would be smart for all of these companies to really think about like, how do we tap into new customers that like aren't necessarily already buying, Mythic Legions, Marvel Legends, Masters of the Universe, right? New folks who like where they can maybe in start to get into this stuff. Because you imagine if you find out about this, you're a holiday person, a Christmas person, you start getting this. Now you're getting all these deer. Now you're like, wait, there's Halloween stuff too. There was a headless horseman. Like, huh. Anyway, just a fun thought. Yay, capitalism. Okay. Speaking of which, friend, I know you like the Mythic Legions. We've been surprised by the Horsemen. There were two big surprises in the last 2 weeks. The first one was this.
Yes.
This Ghost of Jacob Marley figure dropped. And, I don't know about you, but I was like, I got to, stand strong. You're January 14th. You're going to be paying for some Rising Suns, right? Stay strong. You don't need to buy anything new, no matter what it is. Yeah, they could surprise you, but like, and I was like, hopefully it's something I don't want. And it showed up and it was like, oh, there's a lot of good stuff on this. I love A Christmas Carol. I love Dickens. And I was like, oh, there was like a lot of reasons for me to want it, but I was like, no, I'm good. How about you when you saw this?
Loved it instantly. Huge Dickens fan, huge fan of the story, everything. Didn't get it on day one or day two. I got it on that third sale this Friday. Carlos and I went ahead and got them both, shipped to his address to save a little bit on the shipping. But I think what sold me mostly was watching other people's reviews, photography, and then I found out the bonus item, and it was like, wow, that looks really rad,
And we're not going to spoil that.
Nah,
yeah,
but
we're not going to spoil that.
we talked about it on our show, and then I thought about it, and then I told Carlos, you know what? Send me the picture, man. And I saw it, and I was like, ooh, this is sexy. I like it. It's cool. It's different. It's not something to be expected, but I just love it. The only gripe that I have with this, and I don't know why they didn't do it. If you notice, his boots are translucent.
Yep.
So I wonder why they didn't give that same flair to the rest of his appendages. So like his head, he had like
arms or head.
Like, yeah, dude, like a hagnon, where you wouldn't be like just translucent hands, translucent head, and they could have painted the eyebrows,
like the way they did here, so that part of it's painted and opaque, but then it does kind of an ombre. Yeah, no, I hear that, especially if you did like maybe part of the head, like you said, whether that's the eyebrows or the features.
Right. I think maybe there's a phasing going on there. That's why they're doing just the translucent on the boots. But there's always going to be.
It's also here, right?
On
the coat.
Oh yeah, on the coat. Look at that. So it's interesting, that they wouldn't do a little more of that. But there's always the retailer version, which they can go nuts on and make it all translucent and stuff. So.
Like I said, there was a twist to my story, and man, we are predictable, friend, because it was the same thing. The second I got, well, first off, let me backtrack for those of you who aren't familiar with Figure Obscura, which is sort of the newest, I guess, because it worked out that way. but the newest of the Four Horsemen lines, they released something earlier on a technicality, but they didn't call it Figure Obscura. They released the Krampus, and then I think Cosmic Legions was announced as a line, and then they released their second Figure Obscura figure, and then announced that, hey, this is actually a third line for us. That said, the Figure Obscura ones do tend to run a little bit more. So you see this is $60 for a figure. They're obviously, well, I don't know if that's obvious if you're not familiar with the line, but they come with a bunch of stuff, including packaging that is just like some of the best stuff.
Yeah.
You get the beautiful Nate Barch art, all of this stuff, super premium. But what's been happening is with each of these, there's always sort of a little bit of a surprise. And so that's what we're referring to. The surprise with this one comes inside this safe. And again, we're not going to spoil it, but there is something in this safe that is not advertised, that is not known, that the Mythic Legions fans, especially over on Facebook on the Mythic Legions Cabal, are real like good about, hey, let's keep it till about like a week plus till we know that everybody who ordered theirs gets theirs before we start spoiling it. So it is actually a pretty well-kept secret, and you can ask people, like you can say, hey, can you just tell me, like spoil it for me? So I did the same thing as you, Jorge. The second I saw it, I was like, is it still available? I'm going to grab it. So I totally went in because I was like, okay, that's a cool thing. So if that teases you, if that intrigues you, good. But if not, then don't worry about it. It's not, yeah, you can pass. But that was just one of their surprises. The next surprise was not planned, right? So apparently they accidentally or sort of inadvertently posted this. That's what it says here. We hadn't intended to reveal this just yet, but since it's now out of the bag, we figured it made sense to announce it. So in February at ZoloCon, here in Warminster, Pennsylvania, you're gonna see this as the Four Horsemen exclusive. So this, for folks who may or may not know, is a tribute figure, the first non-Masters of the Universe, I guess, tribute figure in the sense that it's made off of Legion's parts,
right?
Of another, based on another properties thing. So it's not technically in Mythos, but this one is a little bit different in that they actually sort of like are licensing this essentially from Zolo World figures, like they've created this thing. If you're wondering what this thing is, and I'll sort of come back to that picture so we can look at their actual figures, but let's do a little bit of context first. So Zolo World has this line called Warrior Beasts, and you'll see them all here. And this is based on this figure, this character. Now, these themselves are things that are sort of like new versions of a retro line back in the day by Remco. If folks aren't familiar, Remco back in the day made figures that were very much similar to your Masters of the Universe format, right? And that squat thing. In fact, they got sued or were attempted to be, they were sued and by Mattel saying, hey, you're copying our figures, but the courts ruled in favor of Remco and anybody else who wanted to make figures that were posed that way, because they said, hey, Mattel, you don't own a pose. And so these are some of the figures from 82. And let me just show you these. This is this Skullman character that this is based on. And here's the version 2, right? So if you these are the vintage ones from 1982. Are they showing up on the screen there? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and again, all these links, Thanos is throwing them up, and they're also going to be available at the link that's shown on the bottom there. But if we go back to, what they're offering, right? So 2023, or I guess 2024, you'll be able to grab this figure, which is very much a version of this guy from 1982. And it's a glow up for sure. Because it's built on Legion's parts with Four Horsemen sculpting, the whole pop and swap ability. And for those of you who've like watched the channel and heard me go on and on and on about Four Horsemen toys, like if you've got a bunch of Four Horsemen stuff, this, like, you can see this and go like, oh, I like that figure, or I don't like that figure. And for better or worse, even if you're like, I don't like that figure, you can do what Jorge and I do and just go like, well, what parts are there? Like we did with Marley, right? We're like, oh, that's a cool thing, right? Yeah. So I mean, there's just, even though like I've heard people like, what is that? It's ugly. I was like, man, as a kid in the 80s, I think I was 6 years old when this came out. When I saw those things, they were like instantly grabbing my imagination, right? And I know the colors are kind of like a little bit cliche, but it's like, dude, it's a skeleton with a full black body and, red cape. Like, that's like kid fodder, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. It's a cool figure. Not really like one of my favorites, but like you said, I can see use of the red cape. I can see use of certain parts that I can build something else with,
Yep.
Definitely the skull is really cool,
Yep. And the soft goods though?
Yeah. I wonder what that's just like a neck piece. Is it a hood or it's just a neck piece?
So there's this. It's 3 pieces. So there's a hood piece, there's this neck piece, and there's the cape. And I've seen CJ talking about it, CJSM, like that was intentional, right? So again, because they know there's the whole pop and swap culture, if you will, with Legions, that like they know that every piece that they create is for that figure, but collectors like us who want to like customize their figures and move parts around, it's also like, designing cool stuff that people can use. So instead of making this one piece, smartly, they're like, okay, no, 3 pieces. People might want to mix and match and do different things. So
it's interesting.
And again, this is the version 1 figure of this original one. So you see him here.
It's gone a long way.
I don't know. I'm into it. I love the 2-toned skull head looking thing. Again, more parts for your Mythic Legions thing, but yeah, cool stuff. Let's see what else is going on. Oh shoot. Okay, so let's talk combat creatures. This was the not Battle Beasts line that just whose Kickstarter just ended. So just to kind of recap, these are 6-inch. They're 6.5 inch actually, but meant to be in that 1/12 scale. Yeah, form. Okay. Solid campaign from the get. It was moving pretty nice. They got past their total and they hit 73,000, which didn't quite unlock everything. I think there was another 80,000 goal there. But at the end of the day, we are going to be getting factory produced versions of these figures. I myself ended up backing for 2. And the way it works is if you backed, you tell them you want 1 figure, 2 figures. There was like a deal for 2 figures and deal for 4 figures. And then you'll go in later once their backer kit is opened up. That's sort of like Kickstarter's function. And then you go in, you fill out the survey, and you tell them exactly which figures you want. Was this at all on your radar or something you were interested in?
I found out about them like when they passed the campaign. It really kind of just flew over the radar. Really cool though, especially ironically, we were talking about Emil Wickman's Legions homages.
Yep.
To
Battle Beasts.
Mm-hmm. That were so freaking sick. So I don't know how these flew over the radar, man. They're definitely cool. What were they running for each?
So they were they were $35. And then if you got 2, like I did, it was $65. You get a $5 break. So we're talking like, $32, $32.50. Again, shipping and tax, of course. But originally one was for $35. Does that show up on the screen? Yeah. And then they had the all-in for $120. Again, you're saving now $20 on all 4. For me, like the indie thing is really big for a number of reasons. And aside from like wanting to support these folks who are doing some great things, and definitely in this case bringing back some nostalgia for something that existed before, but then plussing it really, like, as far as I'm concerned, similar to that Four Horsemen figure in the Remco, right?
Right.
But I know there's folks who are like, well, I like the small guys from back in the day. Totally get it. But if you're into the concept, or just like, I love Animal Wars of the Kingdom, and like the idea of animals armored up and this kind of stuff is just definitely, they had my number. But the idea, like what I've been saying is, like, in addition to like wanting to support the little folks, part of it is because in my head, or not in my head, I think in reality, they push the art form forward and the industry forward, right? So if you're a Hasbro and you're used to sort of selling things in a particular way, and then now all of a sudden there's these smaller companies who are pushing things like this, right? This idea of like pop and swap modular, a modular system for weapons and armor. All of this stuff is interchangeable, right? That like, oh crap, that totally fits in with like folks like me who are like Lego heads and love to customize stuff. But also, like, you think about all the kids and their Fortnite avatars who are like customizing and paying money to like get digital weapons and armor. Like it's fitting in and pushing them to do things that are like that other figure makers aren't doing. And you can see all this sort of articulation. Yeah, I'm not joking when I say like pushing the art form, because it is. This is art, man. This is art. This is engineering. This is all of that. And come on, man, armored shark. Anyway, that
of armored shark in general. One line that came out a few months back. You seen those sharks that are like mobsters?
I believe those are.
I think that's Memory Toys.
Memory Toys, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I think those are the same people that did the Krampus. But man, I really love the concept, but I didn't like the time, the era that they chose to make them like 1930s gangsters. Like,
oh, the sharks. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why it's just something about why do you have to make a shark into like an old school gangster? Like, they could have done other cool stuff with them. They look amazing, but I think that's kind of what kept me away from them.
Again, yeah. So you didn't buy into those sharks, and then these, you were just saying you kind of just started finding out about them, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Big Bad will probably pick these up. So in the long run, I'll probably end up
totally
one or two.
I want to say they were up available for pre-order there too, and I think that's what folks are saying here in the chat as well. So this is just, this is a quick video of like all the stuff that's going on. I wasn't trying to spend too much time on this, just wanted to update folks, but also like, hey, I want to give some attention. I'm actually going to have Bo on to co-host in the new year.
Cool.
But this was one of the figures that I don't believe we hit. It was supposed to be the 80,000. This was Amraka, but what we can get, so again, in terms of parts, right? These wings are on offer as add-ons. So they were available, and you see him sort of like throwing them on other figures. The possibilities, they're beautiful wings. Each one sort of has a separate ball joint connection on the back here. Cool. And unlike some of the other things like Mythic Legions, right? We don't quite we just see the 2 points sticking to the back versus like this kind of back piece that finishes the illusion of feathers.
I like that back piece.
So here's on a Valaverse figure, right? And then you can, because he's doing the standardization thing where like all the ports fit in, you could even just stick them in the arm ports. So again, some cool stuff. Just want to give folks some shine. And yeah, we don't need to go through all of them, but that was that. Moving on. Well, go for it. Sorry.
No, I'm saying that's an interesting concept. I like that toy line.
Yep. And I hear you on the sharks too. It's like, man, we're getting everything. We're getting sharks, we're getting bears, and we're getting dinosaurs. Were these at all? Battlefield Warriors by Axie Toys. Is that something on your radar?
Love them, but I've chosen to just love them from afar.
Same.
It's just because it's just getting out of hand. I'll give you an example. Foray, um, the Foray Planet wave. I
Yep.
picked up the Crocker, and I
Yep.
picked up Veteran Williams, and then you have Master Wang, which I know I'm going to get eventually. Um, but they just shifted because the Crocker and the Veteran Williams were more like modern clothed animals. And then now with Master Wang and all the upcoming ones, including the
Yep.
Panda Brothers, it seems like they're
Oh,
going more into the feudal samurai kind of era
yep.
and going away from that modern tactical, battle thug look that they did with Veteran and the Crocker. So I don't know. I haven't read all of the graphic novels, but a
Mhm.
friend of mine was telling me that it's in the graphic novels. I don't know if they just go.
Yeah, they're all actually in the same world. It's just that it, for whatever reason, some look a certain way, like they might be from a particular era, but it seems like it's all kind of in the world, and that just is. Some of them look like dudes hanging out in the swamps in our era, and some of them look like, you know, samurai or more like Chinese, feudal Chinese martial artists. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's a mix. I
I
love
love
those
that.
too.
They look amazing. Those I'm all in. I love them. The creator, Sebastian Dom,
Sebadom. Yeah.
he's so good, man. Like I own a lot of parts that I've been modding and painting and stuff for customs,
Yep.
and knowing that he's working on that line is just, and it's just stuff is amazing. Just the versatility, being able to pop and swap parts and have a standard werewolf or have like a
100%.
geared up werewolf with weapons. The Crocker is really cool too. So I'm kind of all in on those. These are
Yeah,
amazing.
it's a trip. It's like here we are. It's like, hey, check out Axie Toys. Hey, Hero Toys. Are they the same? What's going on? And then you're talking about Maestro Union, right? And Fury Planet. So it's a trip. Like all of these toys that like last year, some of us were aware that they were kind of on the radar, but they weren't like in hand in the same way, except for maybe Crocmaster and Red Wing. Now this year in 2023, it's like, holy crap, all of these things are here, and they're not just one-offs. Like they did those original sort of like, I forget the type of dinosaur it was for this line, and then they're doing these T-Rexes, and then there's more that they're showing off now, and I'll get to that here, right? Oh, actually not here. Here. These are now available for pre-order at 5K. This is like the next figure. And yeah, man, it is wild. This is the Ceratosaurus. So this one definitely has like a longer neck, whereas this one was the T-Rex, right? A little thicker, bigger frame. This one I think is in between their first one and this one. I'm like you. I didn't bite on these. I just, I can't do everything. But these definitely have me really curious. And if I can find a deal, maybe someday. But just seeing that like bright blue with this, it's gorgeous stuff. And I've seen the reviews. Like Bill, you mentioned Dorklair. He was the first that I saw to do the review of that first one. And like, it's quality stuff. If not, maybe a little too much. Like there's a ton of different little bits and pieces that you get from this armor. You can switch things in and out. But yeah, here you go. You can check out like all of this stuff.
It's insane.
Right? Yeah. And yeah, they're not cheap, but it's not like you're not getting a lot of stuff. See, like this is very Lego of them. All of these little bits and bones can be put into all these little holes. So you have all sorts of options and can kind of like seemingly endlessly customize this thing. So they're cool stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hear you. We can't get everything. If you are interested in trying to get this, again, these are the ones that are in stock. This is that big Tyrannosaurus Rex one, and the pre-order is not, I don't think, here yet. The link is not here yet. If so, I'll add it to the links later. But man, that was like all of the sort of what I call the scene stuff, man. Like there's just way too much, too much in a good way for us to cover. But I also like on the show, I'll kind of look at like toy photographers, customizers. So for the toy photographers, I call it in focus. And so today I'd like to focus in on one particular photographer who's doing sort of a series of stuff that I'm kind of intrigued by. First off, we're talking about Toy Mirth, aka Anthony Eck, aka Toy Mirth. He's done some great stuff that I've kind of shown. I think it was way back with Machu. We looked at these guys on the subway train, but more recently, I kind of wanted to highlight his sort of feudal Japanese stuff that he's done with a couple different figures, all using 78 point of articulations, feudal Japan kind of alleyway diorama.
Nice.
So this is a what is this figure? I don't even remember. Oh, he said I picked this up from 5K, so I don't even know what the figure is. But again, like, you know, you're getting all these different toys from different manufacturers, and these photographers are like putting them into these awesome dios made by folks in the community. Like that's amazing to me, right? This is all like just DIY community folks who are putting this stuff together. These photographers like setting up the lighting for this in this awesome setting. This is like one tiny corner, right, of that dio. Mm-hmm. And just think about like how much use they can get out of those things. These beautiful scene of just chilling with some sake and some onigiri, right? Some rice balls or whatever. And such a cute, like little quiet moment, right? And as we get figures that can pose up in these kind of like cool, like sit down, crisscross applesauce kind of deal, that's gorgeous.
That's awesome.
The lighting. Then you've got this one here of the Yan figure by Noda in that same dio, just like setting up these shots, right? And really like it's like movie making, man. I see this stuff and I'm just like, damn. It's just fascinating. And then you sort of see this character back here who comes up. I love it, right? Just kind of chilling. And he says, everyone deals with things their own way. So there's like, you know, a story in their mind when they're creating these shots. I love it. Just setting up all this stuff. The dio's on point. Look at the details on that. Like respect to 78.
Yeah, man.
And then you take, I don't know if this is meant to be the same character over here with a hat, but same clothing. But like, if that's what's going on under that hat, that's awesome.
No, right.
You've got what's Mexico? What's this guy's name? Oh my gosh. Yeah, but it's Gomez. Like Gomez. Yeah, Gomez. Cool stuff, man. I love the talent in the community of just folks really like just doing some really cool things. I love the Chuck Taylors going on in there. I know you yourself are an artist too, artist, designer. You ever mess with like taking photos of your?
Yeah, actually, back in the day when I used to do my toy reviews and stuff, like I used to spend quite a long time setting up dioramas and shots and stuff. And then basically what I would do is after my review was done, I'd play like a sizzle, and then I would just put a slideshow of all these really awesome shots that I had concocted. So it's funny you mentioned that, because a lot of the times one of the influences, one of the enablers that makes me buy things is that I picture scenes and dioramas and shots that I could do with these figures. But I have to keep telling myself repeatedly is that I'm not going to do those shots anymore. I don't have time. I can't afford all these giant dioramas anymore. So I got to just be like, okay, am I going to enjoy it standalone? Am I going to enjoy it as is, without a diorama, without a scenery? If yes, then I'll buy it. But that was one of the things that I had to deal with. Like, you know, I want to say like it's been going on for a few years where I'll see something, or I'll see someone else's toy photography and I'll be like, damn, I want to do a shot like that. Or I want to do some setup like that, but it's just not, it's not in the cards right now.
We can't buy all the things and we can't do all the things.
Exactly.
Right?
The only thing that I can see myself going like like all out with is Thundercats. I'm getting my
Uh-huh.
Cat Slayer, and I could definitely see myself creating some sort of scenery in the background
Oh,
to look like Third Earth and stuff.
yep.
That I could see because it's a cohesive line that's just growing, and I
Hmm.
know that I'm all in on it. But to just buy a character for the potential of the toy photography that it could produce, like
Right.
that's one thing that I'm just kind of walking away from.
It's like you're speculating. It's like, no, I think I'll do something great, but
Yeah.
will I ever?
Will
Nah,
I?
I'm with you, man. Like just the creating, and I also dabble a lot in and have different sort of phases of life still, where whether it's music or art, um, and so part of me, like because of this collector community that we're in, there's all sorts of ways that you can kind of like get involved, right? Whether it's doing a channel or creating dios or custom figures or toy photography.
Yeah.
So I'm totally like there with you and needing to be like, I need to focus, right?
Yeah.
On that note, that was in focus. And yeah, I think another thing that I do, again, like I'm an artist, I know you're an artist, so like the sort of like creating artwork and whatever shirt designs in your case I've seen and in mine as well. So I love it when folks are doing dope art, especially of like the stuff that you and I grew up on and got nostalgic about.
Yeah.
So with eye candy, I wanted to share something that I saw this week, and that's Gabriel Larragan Villalobos. And so Gabriel, I draw things I like, trying to get better at it as well. And so Gabriel's doing like a lot of the characters that we love and grew up with, and you can kind of see them here. And I kind of wrote the line when I was doing my show notes and lists for this, was saying like, man, if these became concept art, like he draws, or I don't know, Gabriel is well, anyway, so Gabriel does these like versions of characters that, man, if they turn this into like concept art for like animation, I'd be all over it, right? Like I'd love to see that Storm in action. I would love to see, hell yeah, give me that Robbie Reyes in like an animated show, right? Or yeah, there's some here, Black Cat.
Yeah. That's
Yeah, there's just like a cool expressiveness to it. This Morbius, man, like there's a little bit of Mike Mignola,
yeah.
right? There's a little bit of there's all sorts of like cool influence that get merged into this really unique style that I dig. And I'd love to see this kind of thing in animated form. That is a cool Morbius, right?
Yeah.
So I know you yourself are an artist too. So it's do you check out a lot of art and artists
Oh,
on
absolutely.
Instagram?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I follow a lot of artists. I feel like a good artist, doesn't, how can I say, like, you can never, it's good to be confident, but you should never be too confident where you think like stuff should just come out of your brain. I think the best artist draws from inspiration from his surroundings.
Yep.
I particularly love going to art shows. For example, here in Miami, we got Art Basel, um, and there are some really odd ball kind of things, but there is a lot of inspiration to be drawn upon from there,
Mm-hmm.
and just get a lot of weird, outside the box kind of looks at things.
Yep. Yep.
Um, and that's, I think, one of the most difficult things as an artist nowadays is how to create a style where people can be scrolling and instantly be like, oh, that's a JP piece. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Right.
Like,
Right.
I can tell because of this and that and this. And I think that's one of the toughest things is just creating that whole style that's
Mm-hmm.
unique and special, and just something that people get to know you because of that look and style. Like this guy has a distinctive look and style.
Yep.
Like you said, I see a little bit of Mignola in there. I see a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of old school black and white anime. Um, he
Yep.
definitely draws upon from different inspirations, different creators, and
Yep.
he kind of just amalgamates all that and creates his own creations, and that's really cool, man. But sometimes it's a
Absolutely.
very difficult task to accomplish.
Oh, absolutely. But what I also appreciate about him, especially when you sort of see things in layout, is like he's got a design, or they've got a design sensibility. Because again, I'm not sure Gabriel, probably do based on the thumbnail, but um, the layout sensibility, the design, like characters in the foreground, midground, background, like the whole composition of the shot is solid. Like so. I really want to see more of Gabriel's work, but really, again, what excited me was sort of seeing versions of these characters that, man, again, if I could see these in an animated show,
Yeah.
oh man. So there's that. There's Gabriel. The other one that I wanted to look at was really there's this one shot. Folks were like, wait, what's going on with that Iggy Pop in the that Iggy Pop in the He-Man in the thumbnail. Yeah, man. If you're wondering, it's just a straightforward, normal drawing of Iggy Pop. And if you're familiar with Iggy Pop, yeah, that actually could be a normal, straightforward drawing of Iggy Pop. Yeah. So, and yeah, Brian, I know that's why I haven't. That's why I haven't responded, but yeah, if you take a look at Iggy, right, of the Stooges fame, man, and seeing him as He-Man, I love this kind of stuff. I love the weird juxtapositions of like Mighty He-Man and essentially the elderly,
Geriatric.
yeah, the geriatric Iggy Pop. But who, man, if you ever see him perform though, like that. Dude, if I could move and have the energy like this guy at his age, whew.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was kind of cool. I love pop cultural mashups like that. The other one here that I love is this Talking Heads NES cartridge.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, this dude's totally speaking my language in terms of the references and stuff. So anyway, cool stuff. Totally appreciate looking at art and artists. Yeah, and we'll talk more about your art at the end, because I've been appreciating that on your channel. Every now and then you're sort of been sharing stuff and been talking about like your interests in pursuing the art. So we'll get there in a little bit. But let's actually, what about dios? Do you do dios?
I have a couple of dios. I'm looking at some right now. I have the
but have you ever like tried crafting them at all? Is that a thing that you mess with?
I just bought four big pieces of pink styrofoam, and I have a plan.
Hatching a plan.
I'm hatching a plan. You don't do the 1/6 scale stuff, right?
I don't.
So
I can't. I should say I can't, but yes, and I don't.
The
I'm sticking to it,
right?
Oh yeah.
So what I was thinking is, I've seen all these awesome dios, and there's dios. It's mostly for 1/12 scale.
Yep.
There's not a lot of people do 1/6, so
yep.
I'm gonna take a crack at doing a mountainside cliff for Battle Cat.
Okay, that's great, man.
So I have, where I'm going to start is, I got the pieces, but I'm going to kind of sketch out, the foundation and kind of feel how I'm going to assemble those pieces and make the formations and stuff. And then, of course, is the tolerance, the weight of Battle Cat. Is he going to be able to
he's a big guy
on there? Is he going to be able to withstand having He-Man on Battle Cat on the cliff? And it's always been things that I've thought about, like doing little things like castle ruins and stuff like that. But it's all about time, man. Time is so limited and precious.
Yeah, I hate time and I hate money. But This is the only thing that I've ever done that I sort of have used for this background.
Okay,
I
yeah,
did
that's
it.
what you use in the backgrounds for your channel.
Yeah, I've done. I was painting it like I started it with Payne's toy samples on his stream, and then finished it that night on a Mega J stream, and was just like, it's cool, and I want to get back to that. And so that's and it was purely functional, like you had I have this thing in mind for this one particular toy, right? So that helped me. I was like, I need a new background for my channel. So I think that's great. And when you do it, man, or hey, I'm trying to talk to some people about doing like a stream of just like us just creating stuff and hanging out while we create. So if you want to get in on that, because sometimes I don't know about you, but I kind of need that that studio atmosphere to push me to actually do it.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
But anyway, like the other reason I'm asking is because, man, there's just like, that's the other thing that I love about this community, like seeing everybody kind of like creating these like dios, like, right? Like when we were growing up, we had to wait for Hasbro to get around to maybe doing a play set. Now it's like we're all old and we have the means to create. So like a lot of us are just trying our hand at stuff. And you see folks like, this is Mr. C, who by trade is an architect, I want to say. And there's just, you can see really quickly, man, like all of this stuff is just so awesome.
Yeah, look at that
like,
absolute.
yeah. So I wanted to focus in on this because I know a lot of our folks right now are getting their his tanks in. Yes. And so this dude, this guy was like, you know what? I know it's coming. So he made himself, like, thinking like you, right? You've got your battle cat. He's like, all right, I need a place for this his tank to land. It's too beautiful of a piece to not have a special, place to land. So this is his, and I love it because, again, as an architect, he says here in the comments, it's not bursting with cobras yet, but I wanted to share it to show off some of the details. Similar to my previous display, this massive piece is 57 inches long, 16 inches deep, and 24 tall. Wow. Plus the front extension piece that will accommodate the parking for the his tank, which has been shipped and should arrive. So like, I love that. And then the thought behind it, again, because he himself is an architect and, has definitely thought about structures and architecture and design. He says, when setting out to build this display, I knew I wanted it to be similar to my G.I. Joe classified display, but more faithful to what I believe that Cobra would have done with it. Right. So if you're thinking about like Cobra has an aesthetic, can you imagine that? Like Cobra Commander's like, I need a space. Who shall we hire to design? Right? Like, who does this? Right? Who does the branding and the architecture for these fictional terrorist organizations? I used to think about that too when I was watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and how they like have secret bases and stuff for Hydra.
Yeah.
But damn, like, you imagine that? Like, this is all foam. Like, and it trust me, like, anything it's challenging, but if you take a look at the design here, like if you're just doing platforms, let's say you wanted to start off and the first thing you want to do is just a platform to put your stuff in, which is basically why I did like a wall. I'm like, no, I just want a surface. This kind of thing is like a great practicing. A floor, you carving in a couple of lines here, and you're just kind of messing with the weathering and trying to do like the little pits and stuff, maybe using some aluminum foil crumpled up, and just get yourself a cool floor, and then you'll get a taste for that. And then you'll start looking at stairs. And again, by no means am I saying this is easy. And Mr. C is like next level for sure. But like, I also I want people to know, like, you all can do this. And so I know Thanos, I've been asking him about it, and I definitely want to create with him on a stream. But he said, I'm going to use magnets, and I think modularity for my next few dio projects is going to need to be able to break them down. Absolutely. And Brian's like, yeah, magnets are great. Crashbox Custom uses them, and it makes it really easy for modularity and storage. Wishing you good luck with your BattleCat Dio. Super cool idea, or that's a cool idea. Sorry, I didn't mean to add words in there for you, put words in your mouth, Brian. But see if you can add some modularity to the footholds so that you can change up the pose from time to time. Yeah. Especially with something that's so big and heavy, right? Maybe like different levels for it to kind of like,
because I thought of two ways. I thought of it like looking over a cliff with He-Man, or
Yep.
like really cool like cat pose.
Ooh.
We got like one paw extended in front and kind of like crawling down this
Yep.
way versus going upwards. So I've thought about it where I wanted to be able to accommodate either one of those poses.
Yeah, I think that's great, man. Can't wait to see it in progress, and hopefully we can hang out and build. And again, if you're like, I don't want to build, what you talking about, Brick? Well, there are folks like Drunk Gizmo Customs, Alex, and he has a sale right now. If you want to, like, he's kind of known for, he's become kind of this niche market, corner of this niche market on these fountains, right? And so he's doing all sorts of stuff. There's currently a sale going on, so some of these are available. I don't know what's still available, but just kind of to flip through. Yeah, man, like, and you see the prices. There's a lot of work put into these things, a lot of time, a lot of love. He's pouring this resin to kind of get you that water look. And then there are some that are like, there's one that was $150 and it looks like it was taken down because it's probably sold, that lights up from the bottom so that the water is shining through. Let's see if we have like an older one. No, it looks like the post changed, but yeah, gorgeous stuff. And again, could really kind of just change your shelf up, right? Just with one little item. So check that out. Check out Alex at Drunk Gizmo Customs. Also, there is Lone Wolf Labs, who had some stuff at Legion's Con, and there was New Jersey Toy Con today that he was like, I didn't have enough pieces. I actually sold. That's a good problem, right? I sold a bunch at Legion's Con, so had a couple of just items that just didn't make sense to go to a whole show and sell. But these are all available. These are all 3D printed and painted. Sorry, I'll go back. These are $20 for this one, right? So you can kind of see the different sizes. It's amazing how with like this to this, it's the same piece, but with a different paint job, it's like Star Wars. And now all of a sudden it's like, I don't know, the Nautilus for 10,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Or is it 10,000? Anyway, maybe more. I forget
20,
the leagues. But yeah, 20,000, double. So it's kind of cool, right? Folks just printing stuff out, painting it. And then you can also go unpainted. So he's got these accessories and some unpainted stuff. If you want to give, you want to try your hand, there you go. Get yourself a deal for $15 and kind of make it whatever you want. You got Vader's throne room for $3.75. Again, just cool, man. People are making this stuff that really like fill out our shelves and our collection. Again, we had to wait for Hasbro back in the day, and we wouldn't nearly get the same kind of like attention to detail as some of this stuff. So exciting, man. Good stuff. That was Lone Wolf Labs. And then we've got, a little bit of difference, right? So this is more about space and display. I just wanted to show this because Zilu, who's like an amazing customizer, has cool concepts. I wanted to show this one a while back. I don't think I ever got to it, but his concept for a Red Claw figure, which is not what I intended to show today. What I intended to show today was this right here. So for all the folks who I know have had, concerns and trials and tribulation about how do I display these gargoyles on my shelf with their giant wings, right? Well, here's an idea, right? The hanging with and using like fishing line or some other like strong line. And I love it here when he turns off the lights. You all can't hear it, but even if I turn the audio on, you wouldn't be able to hear it. But it's check it out. The links from Thanos. It's a cool display option, as you probably can tell. I love finding different ways of displaying stuff like my ships back here, because it does save some space if you go up or go on the wall. So
yeah,
some cool stuff. I don't know. I know I can see what's going on over there, and I've seen your where you had Battle Cat for a while behind you, or like to the right when you do your Instagram lives. But I don't know if you'd ever consider hanging some of these stuff up. You got any flying characters that this would make sense for?
Well, it's an interesting thing you mentioned, because I'm in the process of changing up my display, and right now it's This is like the main bookshelf.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I got Marvel
It's filling
Legends,
up.
Thundercats. So what I want to do is I want to switch things up. I want to do like I want to get rid of the Marvel Legends on the top and just fill that up with gargoyles. But then I
Yep.
see the whole concern about the wingspan of these characters. Um, obviously we have with every other release we're getting the folded down kind of shroud type
Yeah.
wings, but not everybody has them yet. So
Right.
it's kind of a challenge. But I love what Zelu did here, where he hung them from the ceiling. And the only
Yep.
thing my concern is, what would be an absolute nightmare, is dusting these things.
Oh, sure.
They're a while being displayed. They'll be
Fair
so
enough.
in dust, man.
What I love about this is like when he switches on the lights
Mhm.
right here, and you see the shadows cast.
Yeah,
Dude, that's hot. Especially here at the end, you see sort of like there's this little baby gargoyle, little baby Angela just chilling.
yeah.
Maybe get crowd. There you go, and you see the little shadow.
I love how
Oh
Goliath is
man.
carrying Eliza. That's awesome.
Oh yeah. He's totally like carrying her. Yeah, that's fantastic right there. That's good stuff, man. Anyway, yeah, man. There's just too many good things. Let's see if we can keep going. Oh, we're getting close on time here. Let me. What else do we got going? Customs. Do you either customize or have you picked up any customizers' work? Is that a
I
thing
haven't
that's
picked up
part of your?
any work, but I could show
Uh,
you a sneak peek on one of the customs I've
ooh,
been working on for a minute now.
ooh. Oops.
Well,
Why can't I do? Oh, I can't do a slate. I know why I can't do that. Hold on a second. Let me get you in here and let me go ahead and hide. Go for it.
so if
Oh,
you're familiar with the
ooh,
colors,
nice color choice, man.
you
That's
kind
dope.
of. So this is basically my second Thundercats tribute, Mythic Legion, and
Ah,
I am between. What's really keeping me from finalizing this thing is I don't know what head to use, because the Super 7 head is slightly too big, and there's a custom head that I made a few years back. This was a
oh,
character. This is a character named Puma. I never knew shit about him. He was
nice.
a Marvel Legends kind of.
Oh yeah.
So what I did was with epoxy sculpt, I gave him a lion mane.
Could you hold them a
So I
little
sculpted
closer?
this here, and then I did the harness. This is a classic retro Hercules, and basically,
Oh yeah.
Frankensteining all the pieces together, and it looks like fantastic Marvel Legends type Lion-O. So I was thinking about using this head as well for the Mythic Legions, but I'm still kind of holding off to see if I come across any other head sculpts or anything like that. But and this is another piece
Sorry for the sound, guys.
that I have
Ooh,
planned.
yeah. What you gonna do?
Um,
I got you.
what?
You're keeping with the Thundercats theme?
So you know
Yeah,
what
we
it is.
got ourselves. Yeah. We got ourselves someone who's into the ancient spirits of
And
evil.
I can kind of get that whole crooked old man type of pose. You know, I don't know if I'm going to use this piece or if I'm going to remove it, but um, my plans for the bandages is to be organic. So I'm thinking about
Mm-hmm.
using some sort of material to bandage the body
Okay. Yeah.
while still preserving the articulation. But yeah, that's a couple of the little works in progress that I have. Lately,
You
I've been
know,
doing a lot more 2D stuff, but those are pieces that I definitely want to finish. I want to say I'm giving myself a deadline now, because I feel like that helps sometimes.
sure.
Um,
Yeah, get you
I think I
moving.
want to have them finished by the end of January.
And I apologize for all the noise because while you were there, I was trying to find, which I can't find right now, of course. But I actually worked with Headhunter Customs to create special neck pegs that fit Super 7 heads.
Oh, cool.
So you could actually take and I've done this, where you take a Lion-O head and you put it on that special peg and put it right on that body, especially since you're not using a barbarian body where it has a removable neck.
Yeah, what I was looking at was like, for example, I think it's just.
You think it's a little too big?
Yeah, I think the Lino head would need to be scaled down, even though like the neck would be further down, but it just doesn't look proportionate.
I'll try and share after we get off, if I can find it. Because what's the problem that's going on with that one in particular is because you've got the that neck.
Yeah,
the existing Mythic Legion's neck is longer, so it looks weird. But when it's a little lower, and I'll show you. I'll show you. I'm bummed that I couldn't find it real quick, but it works. So just something to think about, because obviously, like I love the Super 7 sculpts. So I think they did a great job. But anyway, customizers, man. So Steph
is awesome.
Yeah, so you're totally familiar with Steph Delatour's work. I just kind of wanted to highlight one in particular. Well, no, actually make it two, since we're here. Let's start with this one. No, actually just the one. Let's look at this one. I'm a big AWOC guy, as folks know. I do a show called AWOC Talk with Adam, highly articulated. So yeah, I think this custom, man, taking Kali and creating this armor is gorgeous, and the sort of way that it's painted up. This was all stuff that he was showing this weekend at New Jersey Toy Con.
That is sick.
Yeah, and I'm assuming this is from that McFarlane Mythic Legion. I'm sorry, McFarlane Mortal Kombat character.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, and sort of was able to get this head in there, and that's fantastic. I have that figure, and I was like, "Ooh, that's an idea," because that fig can't move for Jack. So just sort of seeing this with all the armor, man, I think that's a cooler way of kind of doing like a Mashika character, but with Kali. I dig it. Steph does amazing work. Definitely, folks should check him out. Last week, I shared Giovanni Bla's stuff. I kind of featured it in depth. And so normally I'd kind of move on to somebody else, but like, come on, man, show enough.
That's amazing.
Like, right? Like, so, I mean, I was big into this movie, right? And just the whole like, yeah, am I the meanest? Am I the prettiest? It's so good. I don't even know who does the head, and usually he'll say where the head comes from. So I'm not seeing it here in this list, but it's really cool use of a Mythic Legion's body. Again, that whenever I'm talking to people about Mythic Legions, it's like, yo, like they're great toys, period. But you should see what can be done because of the whole pop and swap thing, and because they've sort of like encouraged this little cottage industry of 3D parts makers, and so. Man, you get things like this possibilities, right?
That's really awesome.
I love the details that he does, like little things like this, that kind of just dope, man. Anyway, like, there you go. Again, I don't know who the heads are by, and I'll try and track them down, but I think that's super cool. But yeah, great stuff. I'm totally blanking now. What is that movie called? It's not The Last Dragon. Is it The Last Dragon? This is what happens, man. I'm old. Is it with Bruce Leroy?
I think so.
Oh my God. If not, that just shows you my brain. So anyway, cool to check out real quick. I don't want to get too far behind because I've been doing this. People are chiming in, but after the fact, I forget there's a delay. Ray Paz is saying the whole thing about like not wanting to mess with the ceilings for that gargoyles thing. Absolutely. So yeah, keep them in box for now. And whenever you get to a place where you feel comfortable doing that, the holes don't have to be too big, but I hear you. You know, I think you'd have a lot to say about this. I wish someone would take over the Thundercats toy IP from Super 7. Yeah, I've heard you speak on this before.
Yeah, I think like, right now it's like Super 7 has like a monopoly, I almost want to say,
Mhm.
with Thundercats property. I think the reason the line is so successful in comparison to other Ultimates is because nobody else is doing Thundercats,
Right.
Um, and it's because how far down the rabbit hole they've gone with the IP,
Mhm.
Cat's Lair,
Yeah.
um, you know, doing super ancillary characters like the reptilian soldiers and stuff like that, where it's just
Yep.
like, okay, wow, I never expected this. Um, I would love to see someone else step in, maybe not domestically, but I would love to see like one of these third party companies
Sure.
jump in, or you know MuffX or something like that. But I just, what I want to see is more versatility. I want to be able to put Lionel holding up the sword aloft over his head. You
Mhm.
can't do that with Ultimates.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
little things, like the knee joints, the way they're fabricated. You can only bend the knee so far because the back of the calf hits the back of the thigh.
Yep.
Um, the engineering aspect, and I've even talked to Brian about this in the past, where it's just like they should rethink the engineering and the jointing, so that these figures become more versatile. You know, um, I love what they're doing. I guess mainly because they're doing it all. They're covering everything. Can't wait for the new Snarf wave that's shipping really soon.
Yep.
Hoping that the QC and everything's up to par. But yeah, I would love to see someone else. One particular company that I would absolutely love to see take on Thundercats is Mondo. I would love to
Oh.
see 1/6 scale Thundercats, like the absolute premium ultimate representation of a Lion-O in 12-inch.
Yep. Man, like if they did that too, again, it wouldn't be competing, but it would just be, yeah, no, that's a fascinating idea. And they'd be amazing. And they do their own little twist on them so that they would be also kind of like, new versions.
Right,
Um,
right.
Ray Paz is going with Jada, which I could see that too. That'd be
Yeah,
kind of rad. I like the bigger figures though, but if they, and they're doing that with Cyberpunk, they're going a little bit bigger than they did with Street Fighter. That'd be rad. Stars asking, how accurate are the prototypes of the production pieces usually concerning Super 7? Yeah, that's the struggle. It's like it hasn't been consistent, and they've said that they have had different like factory changes and other issues in between, like during those periods. So it's kind of hard to say like what are we getting now moving forward. Yeah, and I've seen that a lot of the renders. I mean, they are renders, so it's a challenge. So I don't know what to say, but I definitely seen some that were like, ooh, kind of off the mark, and then others are fine. So like that, you mentioned the not Slithe, but the reptilians. Man, I love those figures. Like that, they look great. The last couple ones I've gotten, perfect. Metaluna Mutant, the worst stuff. So I don't know. I don't know what to say about it, but I hear you. Like I would love the Homondo idea is perfect, man. Like, yeah. Anyways, now we're thinking like customizers. It's like, what if? Let's go ahead and close out this section by looking quickly at toy culprits. And the one that I wanted to specifically look at was this. It's another Horseman one, but what I liked about this one is it's using parts that we don't normally see used. So these are like the bird torso
yeah.
from their stuff, and I love that. And it's cool because you got the skeleton like doing the forearm thing coming out of the pauldrons is what he's got going on there. Using some of the cool soft goods coming out of Sun Wukong, and just again like if they had the molds for these and the tools, which they don't, is my understanding. Like all of these bird characters, they lost the tooling for. So they would have to retool if they wanted to go back to some of these parts. But they were gorgeous, like that armor. So I like that people are taking advantage of them and kind of like, showing us some customs using them.
Yeah.
So this is out of showing them off at Legion's Con. And then last but not least, for the sort of customs corner, David Williams, easily one of my hands down favorite customizers. because of well, I don't know how far down it is, but I'll just say there's this one that like is constantly like on my brain. I'll show it and then I'll come back, because anytime I can give this thing oh, here you go. Have you seen this? That's using a Super 7 head. So
okay.
you know, it works. I think it is a little larger, but it works.
Yeah, the head is a little off scale for me, I think.
Yeah.
It's funny because that's kind of like the same, almost, let me see, the boots. It looks like it's the same recipe.
Was it Romulus you used?
I got, no, I used, God, what's his name? The one in the burgundy red armor.
The new one?
No.
Vorgus? I was gonna say you painted that Vorgus.
No. The difference is I painted this part white to resemble the white piece on the top of the boots.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm still working on. I wonder how he did this. I might have to reach out to him, see how he got, if he molded that or
dude,
something.
Man, he's a super cool guy, super chill, incredibly talented, like his illustrations. But yeah, it's a cool take. I dug this, and then, but this was, I'm gonna get there. It's like so far down. I'm just gonna show this for Thanos because he's a Guts fan, and yeah. So this is the David Williams section of the show. It's like I really should just move on, but oh man, I can't find it now. Of course, I can't find it. He did a link that has been like stuck in my brain, and he did Epona as well. Here it is. Man, this just totally does it for me. And I know it's a little bit different maybe from the way Link has been depicted, but you know, if folks are familiar with the character, it's cool. Link comes in many shapes and sizes, and I love this take on it. Man, if I could get a figure like this,
I absolutely
make it myself.
His buzz off.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yep. This one. So this is great. Absolutely. And what I wanted to actually show tonight was another, oh, look at the wings. So gorgeous.
Yeah.
Was another Motu one that he dropped.
The Clawful.
Yes. Right? Like, what a cool version of this character with that truly like that head from Novius Lean, but like painted in this color. It's just, it would make for a really cool crustacean head. I love the claws. That right claw is awesome. That's from the Sphexians from Cosmic Legions, and this is from Kragnar. Just again, really cool. Like, this is what happens when a studio like Four Horsemen says, like, yeah, we're making toys. We want to do it in a way that's, you know, you can modular, so you can pull things apart, and we want to, you know, to a certain extent, do as much as we can to encourage customizers to go out and make pieces. And here it is, like pre-painted, which frankly looks pretty damn cool. Just like this, right? Just and then people pick up on it, man. So
I think that's definitely one of the things that has made Mythic Legion so popular, is the modularity, the potential to create your own characters, you know.
Yeah, man, this stuff is fantastic. David's a gem, man. I got to meet him in May when the very first time they did like a Mythic Legions event here on the West Coast, up in Sacramento, and just again, really cool guy, tattoo artist by trade, just filled with creativity. I grabbed a couple of his custom heads that he painted. Yeah, so his customs on point. Anyway, I know we've been going long, man, and I appreciate you jumping on, even though you were able to do this. Let's go and finish this off real quick with the final section, which is called That's What's Up, where we talk a little bit more in depth, even though we've kind of taken some fun little detours and ended up spending time on people in a little bit more in-depth way. I wanted to focus in today on a buddy, actually, from the Geek Dad Life Discord I met, and have been able to follow sort of his development as a 3D sculptor. He's been working on this. I remember when I met him like a little over a year ago, he was sharing stuff there and was like, yeah, I'm just trying this stuff out. And he was just like, damn, he's learning fast. And like, you just, again, putting in the 10,000 hours, right, to hone his craft. I don't know, have you heard the name Renders or Renders FX?
No, I haven't heard of him.
I think you'd be familiar, especially with some of the things that we've seen. But let me go ahead and show you a couple of things. So most recently, what caught my eye, he's working in different scales, and he's just like, he loves the sculpting and the engineering. So this was like the prototype, the concept, really. This was the design that he was sort of thinking about playing with. So these are for a line of things that he's calling sort of mythic monsters. If you haven't guessed from the figures that I feature here, I'm into monsters, I'm into creatures, I'm into animals. So when Renders did this is meant to be wearable. So this is like, here's the sort of idea of him kind of prototyping, and you see it in progress. This is where it's at right now.
Oh, wow.
That's just awesome, right? Like, think about the engineering and sort of how he's putting this together, man. Well done, because it's cool, right? And he's figuring out the engineering of it and the printing, right? So he's got to handle this stuff and model it, and then figure out how to rig it and print it in a way that'll actually work. So
gotta say that's awesome.
Truly awesome. Well done. Here's another one that he did. And I don't know how quick this was, because that trailer for Furiosa just came out. So something in that caught his attention, and he's like, yeah, I want to do like a tribute to that. So again, this is a mask. So this is human scale. I love it. Like the little details of the lock that come from the design that end up he's able to pull off, he's able to just be like, yeah, I have this thing in my mind. I'm inspired by something, and I want to create it.
That's
some more of his sort of like, design / concepts. And like, I love it. He's got an eye for detail. Again, pulling definitely from things that I know you and I've been exposed to in terms of nerd culture, but seeing his own like take on it, and the way he kind of even like paints stuff. Here's another one that just so cool, right? The spider cult sorceress that he's doing.
Oh, wow.
Cool stuff. But when I said, like, I'm sure you'd be familiar with his work, you've seen his work, because I'm pretty sure you saw this at PowerCon.
Oh, yeah.
So fun story. Like I said, like about a year ago, he shared some pictures of like this prototype project he was working on that was very like Masters of the Universe Origins like. And he shared like, yeah, man, I just love the Origins. He was saying like, this is, in my mind, like one of the best systems for a figure and articulation and the pop and swap of it all. So like one of his early projects was trying to kind of like figure it out and kind of replicate it, but then like innovate on it. And that became Flipor, right? This character created by Mad Hatter of Mad Hatter Reviews on ToyTube. And so between him and some other people who I won't name, because I don't know, the other person seems kind of shy sometimes about saying what it is, or even acknowledging that it's a project. So I won't name them. But someone I know, you and I both know, has one of these prototypes behind him in his videos. But anyway, this is a detail of the backpack, and it's really cool. Like I said, it's like, here's a guy who I know like a year and a half ago, or maybe a little less than that, was just sort of like playing with the idea of getting into 3D sculpting, and then connects with other folks in the community. And then, before you know it, he's actually like creating things that get produced. So it says here, this is again a Mad Hatter toy concept of his character Flipor, the toy flipper. He just did a rough sketch, and this is like Renders kind of taking that into reality. Ramen Toy may or may not be producing these, because it's kind of unclear where this is going. So cool. I think absolutely cool. And he does other stuff that, like, you know, if you're a nerd and like if you're in a Doctor Doom, for example, like he's doing some cool stuff, right? And you know, here's just a detail of the mask. But like I said, the dude's just like working and built a relationship and is now, if you're familiar with his Musk, being sold, being offered by Ramen Toys. Here you go. Ace is putting this up, and Ace is working with Renders to do this. So like that was them working together to like Ace had a vision. They worked together to concept it out. Renders does the sculpting and rapid prototyping essentially, and they figured it out, right? And that's this thing, right? That I know a lot of people are aware of. So Renders, like, yo, you deserve all the attention, man. Like, it's really cool stuff. And I love that he's constantly like playing with the medium, like doing the mask stuff, and now it's resulting in maybe, if you're interested in this for like maybe a Ninja Turtles collection or anything, because it's not really meant to be for turtles per se, but like they're making this a reality for collectors to be able to grab. And I know you've talked about like your designing and stuff. Like this is it, man. This is just putting the time in, building up like the contacts in the community, and, you know,
That's true.
You can do. Yep. I don't know when the Musk is dropping. They're still sort of like throwing it out there and, you know, following Ace's track record. They keep putting it out, showing some stuff, occasionally giving you a timeline. But I think there's maybe an interest too in not being too detailed about what plans are. I don't know. But as far as I know, there's no details. It might be on the site. So I'm not the best with details. And yeah, Ray, I guess you didn't know that Renders was working on it, but really cool guy. Yeah. So that's that, man. And then awesome. Yeah, I also like to kind of share space with the person that I'm co-hosting with. So the other That's What's Up is this guy. Speaking of talented people. So tell me about this. This is you and Toy Addict Productions, because I know you used to have a channel and something kind of funky happened, right? So you kind of had to restart. You want to share that story with folks?
Yeah, it's a little bit melancholic, but you know, I was close to about 7,000 subscribers. I think I want to say I started YouTube back in like, I don't know, maybe 2010.
Okay. Yeah, you're going for a while.
So, you know, I was out there, you know, just had a lot of content, a lot of video reviews. That's what I mainly focused on. Was I would do like unboxings. If I remember, I had the privilege to actually do the first look at Mythic Legions. So basically, Cornboy and Studio sent me out all these unpainted prototypes of the first wave of all.
Nice. Okay.
And I did a whole first look video on those. It was just a lot of awesome stuff. A lot of videos that I did with my son as he was growing up. All that content is gone now because I didn't have backups for that stuff. But basically what happened was one day I got some weird email, and I guess they ended up hacking that email, and that email was linked to my YouTube. It looks like because of my followers, they used my YouTube as a bridge to get people to watch some cryptocurrency thing. And
familiar with
the next day, the next day after, I got an email from Google that due to policy guideline violations, deleted my channel. So for a while, I was contemplating even starting channel again. I was just gonna do like the IG thing or like just do something else, but a bunch of my friends told me, you know, hey, you know, start fresh. You know, it's something you built for so many years. Don't just let it go. And I decided to just kind of reinvent things. So instead of doing so much toy reviews, you know, instead of doing like these live streams, doing these interviews, I came up with Toy Addicts Anonymous, just to be like an outlet where people can discuss not only the hobby and the fun of it, but also the trials and tribulations of being a collector and how sometimes we can be immature and
The addict part, right?
yeah, default on bills and stuff like that. I have one particular episode in here, which was kind of interesting. I had my wife come on with me, and we discussed the Hobbit in the hobby in tandem. And it's funny to see her, take on things and how she perceives the hobby is, and the pros and cons and stuff. Like she's always trying to figure out, like it was some trauma when I was a child, and like what
Uh-huh.
led to toy collecting. And I'm like, it just brings me joy. I don't know what it is. It's like things
Yeah,
that,
you mentioned that on the last episode.
yeah, just
How
things
she
that
was kind of
bring,
like psychoanalyzing you, right? Because that's her trade, right?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and that's where Toy Addicts Anonymous came through. And, my buddy Carlos Espino, he's local here in Florida also, the Badass Reviews.
Mhm.
Awesome guy. I actually met him. He was a fan of my channel, and we met through Facebook, and then we found out that he was in Florida, and we linked up, and he's like another brother to me.
Nice.
He is super awesome guy.
I actually
Stands
thought you were brothers when I first saw you because you
really.
talk about him that way, and I was like, oh, okay, cool.
No, it's like brothers in the sense of brotherhood, but like
No, totally.
he's such a good guy,
Uh-huh.
And that's one of the things that I mentioned a lot is just the community is so
Mhm.
awesome. When you have just like Legion's Con, which I unfortunately I couldn't go this year, but last year I was in Legion's Con, and walking from the hotel to the venue, we met Steve Mank, which is Articulated Times on Instagram.
Yep.
Super awesome guy with his wife. We hung out with him. Then I met Nolan, super awesome guy as well, him and his wife. And you just make friends within the community, and
Yeah.
there's so much awesome people out there. Like Jay. Jay, I ran across his stuff one day, and I was like, damn, this guy's so awesome. He has so much
Which
energy.
J?
Mega J.
Oh yeah,
And I
yeah.
was like, hey man,
There's like
I
Mega J,
I
Gladfelter.
reached out to him, and I
Totally.
was like, dude,
Yeah.
I would love to have you on my show, and we can talk about Thundercats and stuff like that. And super awesome guy, approachable.
Yeah.
There's been other people in the industry that I've been like, hey, let's do a show or let's do something, and they kind of always like, yeah, but it's like I guess they feel threatened that other people will take their spotlight, but I don't look at it that way. I just want to
Yeah.
build a family, and just the more family, the more friends, the better. I'm never ever thinking of trying to earn a living from YouTube. I
Sure.
don't think that's really possible unless you're one of these like performing artists or like people that just live and breathe YouTube all day,
Yeah.
which I'm not that person. I mean, I've done this when I was doing my channel. Like if you look at these Thundercats reviews, that's how all my reviews were, very elaborate. And then at the end, you would have all these pictorial shots and stuff like that. I just don't have the time to do that anymore. I want to continue doing
I hear
it with
you on that.
Thundercats. I want to keep doing it with Thundercats. There hasn't been a lot of product come out yet. I still haven't gotten my reptilians. I did get Ghost Jaga, which
Fun,
was
man.
amazing. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
I'm glad you were able to grab that. Yeah, I wasn't able to grab that for you, but I'm glad
I had
you were able to.
him originally from Super 7, but
Yep.
then I was like, damn, I want one in box because I'm definitely going to open it. But then Big Bad dropped a pre-order out of nowhere, and I picked one up, and it was crazy because 10 minutes later when I shared the link, it was gone. And people were like, oh, it's going to go on clearance. I'm just going to wait. I'm like, okay.
Yep. Yeah, totally.
And he disappeared.
Yeah, since we're talking about it, I wanted to go ahead and grab it. Like, hey man, these things, these reptilians,
Oh yeah, dude.
they're gorgeous. They're like well done, well
Do you
sculpted.
own Slive?
I do own Slive, so he's a little bit more. And they could have, easily just sort of like, oh, let's reuse parts, but like, no, they sculpted this whole thing, and all three of them are kind of based on this one buck. But it's cool, man. They're really great, and they move well, and they do some really cool poses, and I've had fun with that. But yeah, back to your channel, like, yeah, you've been able to like you had Trevor on. I don't know Larry Kenny.
Larry Kenny is the original voice of Lion-O from the cartoons.
Nice. Yeah,
Super
and then
awesome guy.
That's awesome. So are these new to this channel, or were they from your older channel that you ported over?
That was all from my old content,
That's what I
which
thought.
I was able to salvage because it was still on my removable hard drive. So everything that was on my old channel
Okay.
that I could still recover,
Uh-huh.
I just threw it on here.
Well, folks who are in the chat and anybody watching this on replay, go check it out. Like, come on now. 7 views, interview with Larry Kenny. 5 views with Corn Boy. Nah. And I think it's just, trying to get this out there. And I know it's probably hard to start over, right? That sucks. But also, like, whatever, fresh start. And you kind of like, you've created this new thing with Carlos. So that's kind of rad. And you just, you've done it before and whatever, So definitely, folks, subscribe if you're seeing this right now live in the chat or if on replay. Definitely check out Jorge's stuff. But this isn't the only stuff, actually. You're also on IG, still kind of like sharing your stuff over there and, just kind of like letting folks know about what's going on in the community. And then you do a lot of your lives, usually like a little bit before the YouTube episode, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And kind of let people know. I just want to share this because this is the one I was like super into when you were showing it off. This is, again, man of many talents. This is his work on Procreate using that time lapse option, which is so good. You can see all the kind of like changes and the stuff over time. Really cool. Man, dope. Just dope stuff.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know you're trying to get back into it and maybe potentially looking into like work in toy company, in a toy company and stuff. Ray's like seeing what you did there with your toy logo. Yeah, man, all this stuff's so great. And then there's something new that I didn't know about, which was, did you design all of this stuff too on the J-Parts?
I did. That's actually my shop on threadless.com.
Yeah, man, that's great. Look at this, like that mashup.
Thanks,
super
man.
Cute. Look at these. Come on now. What is it? Bam Bam and Pebbles?
Yep.
Bam Bam Cat and Pebbles Kit? Or is it the other way around? No, I think that's right. And then you've got, I love this one. You were wearing this in one of your interviews too, but I'm going to definitely grab one of these. I'm a sucker for these and like the Cabal Slayer shirt.
Yeah.
Love that stuff.
It's interesting because the original concept for this one was going to be Monstar at the top. But my buddy was like, dude, you got to represent Joe. And I'm like, yeah, but the problem is I need to expose the skulls. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, just crack his dome.
Yeah.
And then that's where that came up. But originally that was going to be Monstar up there. And it looked super sick. I plan to eventually do that version as well, because the Monstar, what I did was I made the pre-transformation Monstar. That looks like a lion, that real like grudgy, like rock and roll looking monster, and he looked awesome with a skull face.
I love the choice here of the Alcala kind of look.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Alcala.
You know what you could have done here and would have pissed off a lot of people is if you made it like a snake skull, because he was once a man.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Let's see, where else did we go? Yeah, man, this is really cool stuff. I'm a sucker for this kind of stuff. So I will definitely, I will definitely grab some of these. These are great. So
yeah, this is like a whole line that I'm kind of came up with where it's like just a mashup of popular iconic cereal mascots meet popular pop culture horror or pop culture films. So this is obviously Clockwork Orange.
Yeah.
And the other one that I did was, and the other one I did was as Captain Crunch as Captain Spaulding. And there's another one there, which is not at the store for some
reason. I don't actually know. What's the reference to Captain Spaulding?
That's from House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects, Rob Zombie.
Rob Zombie, yeah. Not something I'm too familiar with.
Yeah, but
love it though. I get it.
Another one.
Serial killers.
Yeah, I have another one that is. I'm gonna put them on the shop soon. It's basically Count Chocula mashup with Count Barlow from the God, what's the name? I love that movie. I can't believe I forgot the name right now. Salem's Lot.
Count Barlow?
Salem's Lot
Oh,
film.
okay. Mm-hmm,
Yeah. Count Barlow, if you've seen the movie, he's like very similar to Nosferatu, but he has like blue skin, and it's basically a vampire that buys real estate. He buys a home in Salem's Lot, and he lives in the basement. And then it's a really awesome movie. It's from the mid '70s,
Yep.
but I think they're remaking it. They were supposed to come out in theaters, but I think it's going to be coming out like an Amazon or Netflix, straight to digital.
Okay. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen Salem's Lot, but yeah, that's great, man. And like, again, multi-talented, you're doing a bunch of stuff. Oh, I didn't say this. I just clocking that everything is on sale, $15 tees plus free shipping. So
Yeah,
definitely go there, use the thing, and grab some shirts right now, and show Jorge some love for J Parts 26. All of that stuff is in the link that for those of you here in the live today, Daniel shared, and it's also in the link that'll go up in probably about 20 minutes or so, because I can just port that over, and that'll live here at the URL that's at the bottom and over there in that corner with the QR code. Check it out. I too have been messing with I have messed with t-shirt designs. I've used Redbubble, and I'll have to get your thoughts on Redbubble versus Threadless and all that, but it was also an outlet for me just to let me create this thing. And it's usually like, what do I want to wear?
Mm-hmm.
So let me just create something that I want to buy for myself, and then I just kind of let it sit there.
Yeah.
But I've done like brick something stuff. So folks are interested, that's there too. Anyway, man, we're about to close up. Sorry, it's gone much later than I told you. I hope that's okay, but if not, sorry. But hey, why don't you tell folks what's up next over at Toy Addict 26?
Well, right now we're doing best of the year countdown. So basically, between me, Nolan, and Carlos, we're going to be choosing our top 5 contenders for the year. We'll be sharing that on the next episode of Toy Addicts Anonymous next Thursday. And then the plan is to let the viewers vote amongst those 15 contenders, so we can see what the general consensus is of what are the best toys for 2023.
Right on. Yeah, and that's always hard. I'm thinking about my top lists as well. Last year, I think I didn't do anything on my channel. I just shared it over on Adams on Highly Articulated. But I'm curious, have you landed on any of them? And
so,
no spoilers. Maybe just tell us lines. What lines are you covering?
I mean, definitely, I think one of them might be Mythic Legions. There's one particular figure that I want to make it to that, but I don't have it in my hand yet. And that's but I have a feeling he's going to be a definite scene stopper. It's the Mezco 112 Collective Doctor Doom. I think that figure is going to be amazing, dude. I don't know if I'm going to have it by year end, though. So it's because I know they're processing orders, but between the charging and the actual distribution and shipping by Mezco, I don't know if people are going to get them in time for Christmas. It's cutting it really short. Another contender for me is definitely Four Eye Planet veteran Williams. He's amazing, very versatile. You can customize him, change up his looks. And I really have to kind of sit down and kind of go and look around. Unfortunately, there's a lot of things that I've received that I haven't been able to open, just haven't had the time. I got the looking at it right now. I haven't opened that one. Is the Dungeons and Dragons War Duke from NECA. NECA. That's an amazing figure, just visually. So I want to see how it is tangibly when you take him out of the box and how he moves and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm planning to get that list done definitely by Thursday. So I'll have my picks by then.
It's hard. It's always hard to kind of do that. The only person that I've really like like there's also people who have different, like criteria and stuff, but I gotta say Dan Larson over on Secret Galaxy, the way he kind of has done it over time, where he have like a bunch of figures on the table, and it's honest, because it's like, what is the criteria? It's like whatever speaks to me at this moment, what I really love. And man, there's a bunch. Like I'm really loving this guy right now. And there's a couple. So like I'm looking at right now, that's sort of on the board. There is a Legions figure, whether you call it cosmic or mythic, whatever. I'm just saying Legions. There's a Legions figure up in there. There's actually a Super 7 figure in there. There is a NECA figure, maybe one you're talking about, maybe not. What else do we got? Oh, and of course there's a Maestro Union figure up in there, and which is Fury Planet, and what is the memory toys? So that's where I'm at right now. There's a D20 that kind of was like close, but so anyways, there's stuff. So I'm into it, but so hard to pick.
Yeah.
So that's coming up. Toy Addicts is every Thursday?
Every Thursday. Yeah, we're doing it every Thursday at 8 p.m.
8 p.m. your time, which is on the East Coast.
Standard.
5 p.m. for any West Coast folks that are here.
Yep.
Right on, man. And definitely give them a follow and check out those shirts. Thank you for joining. I know I hope I didn't rush you, or your daughter didn't got her fill of the...
Everything worked out fine.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, thank you, man. I appreciate you dropping in, and I appreciate everyone who's stuck around and hung out with us. Thank you again to Thanos for doing all the links. I really appreciate you. And yes, this is usually what happens. We end up kind of ending, and I try to end before so that folks can go. So I totally appreciate it if you were gonna jump over there and end it early. But yeah, between GDL, between Hella Dope, who else? Just Shelve It. Like there's just a bunch of great stuff happening. And again, I believe the Enablers folks had ended their 24-hour stream about 40 minutes ago. Yeah, they did a fundraising stream. So all sorts of cool stuff. Thank you all for kind of hanging out with us here on the Brick Something News. I hope you learned a thing or two, or just got to like hang out and see some cool toys and art and all that stuff. We do that here every Sunday, 4:30 p.m. Pacific, 7:30 Eastern. Next week, I'm going to be hanging out with the Collecting Brothers, which is going to be dope. Again, I gotta get Carlos up in here too, separately at some other time, so that I can get both of the Toy Addicts up in here. But yeah, man, it's beautiful. It's been a great way to kind of connect with folks and share space and talk toys. So thank you all for watching. Yeah, thank you again. Appreciate you. And we'll see everyone. Hope everyone has a great week. All right. All right, that's it. That's the ending. I don't have any great thing. I just sort of say peace, power, and all that stuff.